Finally, for this week, it's time to look at tables. You should have read the chapter about tables. There's a lot to tables. You can learn a lot about tables. We'll just take a very brief look at tables in this exercise. There's much more in the chapter. However, tables are not used as much as they used to be. There was a time back before CSS, or before the modern CSS, when we used tables in the cells of tables to do layout on pages. Like you'd put the text in this cell and the image in that cell, and then it kind of was a structure, a grid that you could use to lay out your page. There's a big problem with that, is that tables do not flex very well at all. So they do not handle different screen sizes well, so they could not be responsive. These days, tables are typically just used for small things, as they would be used in a newspaper or a magazine. A little bit of gridded text or numbers or other information that was like a little pullout, a little bit of informational graphic kind of thing. So that's the kind of tables that I've given you to do here. And I think for that use, they can be very powerful and very useful to do. So it's a good thing to know about in general. And you can change the styling of them very dramatically with CSS, which was a lot. Well, you can read more about that on your own. We won't be spending time on that, but there is much more you can learn about tables. Okay, here's the exercise. Really, all there is a project folder called tables, and then a root folder called tables in your last name, and then a HTML document inside the root folder, which is called tables in your name.html, just based on your regular blank document. Title the page your name and tables. Like first name is fine. I always say last name. I don't know why, but Jack's Tables is fine. And then you're going to make two tables in that one document. You're going to make one that looks like this. And if you wanted to add the CSS, as I will show you, that makes the lines around it, that's fine too. In fact, you probably will. In fact, here's the CSS I give you. And then it's another this is what it looks like, what a table looks like when we add that CSS. It's just all those cells are all the different parts of the table have rules around them now. That's all this does, is it takes the TH and the TDs in the table and puts a border around them and gives it a margin too. So the one looks like this and one that looks like this, but you may have the rules around it. That's fine. Now I'm not going to do these for you. I'm going to do some different ones that are similar in some ways. Two different ones that have the same kind of characteristics, and then I'm going to let you do these on your own. So let me show you the tables that I'm going to do. I'm going to do tables that look like this. And you see they are similar, but they have different numbers of columns in general, and rows to some degree too. This first one is a pretty typical kind of table where we have a heading and then some subheadings, and then we have some stuff that's laid out in a grid. Information, numbers, and words. Okay? And we'll see how this will work. Notice that the key thing about tables to keep in mind is rows, 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 rows. Tables are all about rows. We talk about table rows, not so much table columns. In fact, it's the number of rows that determine the number of columns. In your instructions, you'll see I tell you what the commands are. All the commands you have to worry about is the table, goes around everything. TR is table row, TH is table header, TD is table data, and then there's something called a call span and a row span attributes that we can attach to things like a table header, for instance, most commonly. So these are the only codes we're going to worry about right here. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and make a table. And I've got a little started. I have my blank document, which I've named, and I put the CSS in here already. This is the same CSS I put in that document, so you could add that, and you might as well. Don't worry about the fact I have this commented text out. It's just to make my typing a little easier. But what I have done is I have laid out kind of like it appears to remind myself of the rows, the text from this first one, this one up here. See? This is the text. Okay, what does this look like so far? Well, not too much. Right now, everything, including the next example, is all just one line of text. Because of CSS, of course, doesn't handle returns and spaces and all that stuff, right? As you're used to by now. So this whole thing is going to be a table. And we start like that. We make the whole thing a table. Put a table around it. Open table, close table. Okay, good. We are going to skip this line up here for right now. Okay, this row up here. For now, we're going to go down to this row and all the others, because these are all similar, right? See how they are? They're all lined up like this, right? Okay, good. Each one of these is a row. Each one of these is a row. So we're going to tell each one to be a table row. And to do that, we will do tr. I'm going to put it just above. And I could be, instead of typing these things, that's why I put that comment there. So I could just copy and paste them, but for some reason I'm not doing that. Okay, table, row, and another one. And another one with a close. And another one. Open the table row, close the table row, open the table row, close the table row. So we got open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Good. Okay. So does that do it? No. And there's some parallel, I kind of think, between like the way tables are set up and the way we handle our list types. This is a row, but inside there we have to tell it what the items are. But we don't call them items in tables. We call them either THs or TDs, table headers or table datas. Is this stuff like a header, information about the table, or is it like the data, the information in the table? I think that these are headers, TH. And then we're going to close the TH. We don't do a TH around the whole thing. Each one of these has to be thought of as a separate item. Okay? And we're going to continue like that. Get the idea? And the next one. Now, it's a little awkward on my screen to have these set up like this with all these spaces in between. I'm really just doing that so that you can see how this is a row. We might very well have just made these one on top of the other, but I think it makes sense to do this so you can see it better. Okay, so we have our first real row. We've skipped this row. We've got one row done. Let's take a look and see what happens. Okay, look at, we've got, it's set up with a table, and then this year, make this bigger. Okay, good. And all this stuff is set up here nicely, isn't it? But we've got this other stuff which is not really in it yet because we don't have table datas or headers around it. Okay, so that is the way we go. And we're going to do the same system as I continue along. I'm going to do, as a table row, I'm going to do table datas now. I'm going to grab a TD. These are table datas. Get that idea, right? Because I'm going to put them in without the slashes and then go back again. This is the information inside the table, right? And I might as well do them all while we're doing it. And then the slashes. This is just a lot of typing. And finally, slashes, slash. I get them, they light up to confirm that I have the pairs. That all looks fine. You can imagine how that's going to look. While we're here, why don't we go ahead and do this? This thing is one item, and it is a piece of table header. See that this is a single thing. It's not like three separate things, right? It's not like year, TA, score. right? It's just a table header, right? So let's just put table header around the whole thing. Oh, oops. Where am I? Yeah, table. I screwed that up. Table header, and do realize, stop. Copy. Good. That this thing is its own table row also, right? It's its own row. So whether it's data or header, it's got to be in a row. And the whole thing's got to be in a table. Okay, it's going to be perfect, right? No, I don't think so. It's pretty good. Years are all set. Oh, my first one is supposed to be a table header. Something went wrong there, I see. Now, the fact that it's bold or not bold, of course, we could change all that with CSS and the font, colors, and so on, right? But that's an indication that it has carrying a different meaning. Table header has a different meaning than table row. Sorry, than table data. Header and data. So we'll change that. But there's something else going on wrong here too. Look at this first one. Of course, it's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like this. See? So what's going on? Well, this needs to go across all the rows. It's a single header item, but it needs to go across all the rows, right? And there's a problem here we have to fix too. So let's go take a look. Where is year? See, that's the problem, right? It's a header. Good. Okay. So what do we do here? How do we make this span across all the rows? Yeah, that is the question. That's where we get the call span. Those are the other things we have. We have call span and we have row span. Call span is spanning columns. We tell an item to span a certain number of columns. How many in this case? Well, how many columns are there that it's supposed to span? You should be able to tell. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why are there 4? It's because that's how many things were in each one of the rows. That's how it determines the number of columns. So it's going to be a 4. It's going to be a call span equals quotation marks, and here's going to go 4. Okay, that's all done. And it's similar to your first one, but different too. Okay, so let's do the next one. What does it look like? Okay, it's sort of the same, sort of different. This time we have a header which sits off on the side, and then these things are lined up. One key question is going to be, where are the rows, right? What's in the first row? What's in the second row, the third row, the fourth row? That's one of the key issues here, right? When you see a table like this, I want to suggest to you something. Is this first thing, serving size, in the first row? Yes, it is. The first row starts here and goes across. Serving size and small are in the first row. Is this thing in the second row? Something can't be in two different rows. So the first row is this stuff, and the second row is just the medium, third is just large, and fourth is just super. You kind of have to get that idea for this to make sense. And here it goes in Notepad++. Here we are. So the whole thing is a table. The first row, and I'm not going to space them out this time. I'm just going to say TR is going to be these two items. Okay. But the next ones are their own table rows. But within them, some of these things are data and some are header, right? So what's the data? Well, obviously this is a data. And this is also. Each one of those are data. So those should all line up and highlight correctly. Yes, they are. But this obviously up here is not a data. It is a table header. It's like the label of the whole thing. Table header. Okay. So should that do it? Will that take care of it? Maybe not really. We got some of the stuff going on here, right? But the problem is this item is creates two columns here, but there's nothing to go into the second to push these things over, right? Because it's supposed to end up looking like that. All right. In the same way that we had a header that spanned columns here, now we have a header that spans rows, right? It's a row span. And how many rows is it going to span? How many rows are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a row span of 4. Hope you get that idea. So again, this is serving size. It's a row span, one word, equals quotation marks 4. And there you are, row span of 4. Okay, you have your own stuff to do with different data, and have fun with your tables.